Hey, how's it going everybody? Hypermorph here, and in this video I will accurately calculate the size of the creature slash dragon inside Polar Peak using just the eyeball which we can currently see in the game. So I will be sure to go through the whole process and show you step by step what I did to come up with my answer. Here we go. First, in order to get a good idea of what the size of this creature is, we need to figure out how the size of its eyeball would compare to the entire size of the creature. All I need is a ratio. However, the ratio of a creature's eyeball to the size of its body varies from creature to creature. So, in order to find this ratio, I need something that at least gives me an idea of what the body of this creature should look like. Because in order to figure out what the size of the eye should be in comparison to the body, we need something that can tell us what the body looks like. Luckily, there's an image file that actually helps me do just that. This image was leaked around the time those eggs first appeared in the Polar Peak Castle during Season 7. Of course, inside those eggs were the baby dragons represented by this exact image. I'm going by the theory that the creature inside Polar Peak, or inside the Polar Peak iceberg, is the very same creature but as an adult. Whether it's supposed to be the mother or one of the grown-up baby dragons, I think it's pretty safe to say that this creature will take on the same form of a kind of serpent dragon. Just to back up my theory a bit more, take a look at where the eyeball is, like where it's located within the iceberg. It is strangely low to the ground considering how big that eyeball is. So unless the creature was meant to be upside down for some reason, this is likely a zero-legged creature like what we saw inside those eggs I mentioned before. Otherwise, the eyes would definitely be much more elevated within that iceberg. So, assuming that this creature is indeed the same as those which were inside the eggs in Polar Peak, in the Polar Peak dungeon, we now have an idea of what it will look like. It's probably a serpent kind of dragon, like this for example, which I'll put up on screen. Knowing this, I'm going to use just the length and not so much the width of this creature to make a judgment of its size, since most of a serpent's body is basically its length. However, later on in the video, I'll give a very rough estimate of what I think the average width of this dragon's body is, so that I can estimate the volume, or the amount of space it takes up within the iceberg. But first, let's go back to just finding the length of the dragon. So, now that we know what the creature may look like with regards to its shape, the next step from here is to estimate the length of the body of the serpent dragon thingy using the image we have of the dragon as a baby. Unfortunately, things weren't made easy because the body is kinda all curled up. So, I decided to make a rough estimate of its length by drawing two circles at each of the two curved sections of the body, and then by using an online tool to measure their respective diameters in pixels. So using some basic math to calculate the individual half circumferences of these two circles, I came up with this number, 319 pixels. However, we still need to account for the head and the end section of the tail, which wasn't included in the bottom circle. This is much more straightforward. I just simply measure one line from the mouth to where the main body begins, and another from the very bottom of the serpent dragon to where that last part of the tail ends. I then get that the length of the head is approximately 134 pixels, and that the length of the extra part of the tail is approximately 133 pixels. When we combine this with our measurement for the rest of the body of the serpent dragon, we get a grand total of approximately 586 pixels. Great. So now we have calculated a value to represent one half of the ratio, the length. Now we just need to find a value to represent the other half, the diameter of the eyeball. So after this, I went back to the image of the baby dragon and drew a circle on the head of the dragon to represent the eyeball so that it looks quote-unquote realistic. After that, I went back to my trusty pixel ruler and measured the diameter of the creature's quote-unquote eyeball to be about 18 pixels. Now I have the other half of my key ratio, the diameter of the eyeball. So here you can see the ratio of the overall length of the creature to the diameter of its eyeball. Alright, let's put this ratio into a visual representation. Here I made a quick, super basic program to demonstrate what the eye size looks like in comparison to the length of the body. So yes, that circle thing on the top represents the eye, and the line beneath it represents the whole body. So there's my very rough representation for you. Now I have almost all the information needed to come up with my final calculation for the size of the beast in the game. At this point, all I need to do now is estimate the size of the eyeball in the game. So to do this, I went back to a game of Playgrounds. I built up to the eye and stood next to it. I then went into replay mode and I took a screenshot of me next to that cute fella, along with the wall. And you'll see why I included the wall later. Then I used the screenshot to get pixel measurements of my character's height and the height or diameter of the eyeball, as well as the height of my wall. I was careful to use a normal looking male skin so that I could use the assumption that he is approximately the average height of an adult male human being, which is 1.76 meters or 5.8 feet. With the separate pixel measurements of my character, which ended up being 440 pixels, the wall, which ended up being 620 pixels, and the eyeball, which ended up being 930 pixels, I was able to make a separate ratio. Using this ratio, I can calculate the size of the eyeball in meters and feet by just multiplying the height of the average male human being by the fraction representing the height of the eyeball in pixels over the height of my character in pixels. I then end up with 3.72 meters, or about 12.2 feet, for the diameter of the eyeball in the game. I did the same process for the wall, just simply replacing the eyeball in pixels part of the equation with the measurement of the wall in pixels to estimate the height of the wall to be approximately 2.48 meters or 8.14 feet. Still don't know why I decided to measure the wall? Hold on, we're getting there. For now though, let's get to the juicy part of the vid and find the estimated length of this beast. To do this, I used my measurement for the diameter for the eyeball and multiplied it by the ratio I found earlier of the overall length of the serpent dragon to the diameter of its eyeball. So, for the moment you've all been waiting for, here's my resulting measurement. A whopping 120 meters or 394 feet. That's about the size of 5 full-grown blue whales, or about 70 times the height of the average man. Now, you may or may not be wondering if this thing could even fit inside the Polar Peak iceberg. This is where my measurement for the wall comes in. I found the volume of the Polar Peak iceberg to be approximately 34,000 wells cubed, or about 518,601 cubic meters, once you convert it. Now I'm going to estimate the volume of the serpent dragon using the information that I've gathered. To keep things simple, I just decided to use the image of the baby dragon serpent thing, and I selected a portion of the body that I thought best represented the average width of the creature, measured that width using the same pixel measurement tool, and then I found it to be 48 pixels, meaning that the total length that we found earlier of 586 pixels is approximately 12.2 times the average width. With this information, I estimated the width, aka the diameter of the body, to be around 9.84 meters or about 32.3 feet. To further simplify things, I'm going to treat the entire serpent dragon's body as if it were just a cylinder. So of course my estimate for the volume of the creature is going to be very rough, but still certainly an accurate possibility. Now that I have a solid three-dimensional figure and its dimensions, I just simply square the radius of the creature, multiply it by pi, multiply that by the length of the creature to get a volume of approximately 9,100 meters cubed. And this is my estimate for the volume of the dragon inside the Polar Peak iceberg. To my surprise, this means that you could theoretically fit about 56 of these fellas within the iceberg if you were to just squish them all together and stack them on top of each other. Based on this, it is very safe to say that this creature can fit inside the Polar Peak iceberg. Even with rounding errors, I can still say with confidence that the dragon creature chilling in the iceberg can definitely just fit there with comfort, despite being so huge. So, there you have it. The size of the creature hiding in the iceberg and whether or not it fits. However, only time will tell exactly what the size and looks of this beast will be. And let me know what you thought of this video and whether or not you'd like to see more videos like this. I know this is a lot different than what I normally do, but it's actually something that I found pretty fun to make. So, yep. Well, that was a lot of work. If you made it this far, please let me know what you thought of this video and whether or not you'd like to see more videos like this. Also, please leave a like and subscribe for all the hard work and sacrifice I put into making this video, because I spent a lot of time on this. I've never put in this much effort in a single video in my life. So please help support the channel and help support this video. I'd also appreciate it if you use code YT-hypermorph in the item shop. Doing any or all of these would just mean a lot to me. Alright. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm going to take a nap and clear my brain. Bye bye.